So this young lady next to me is the wonderful, powerful Dynamo, the mighty mouse, right? Miss Idalis. And I had the good fortune of working with Idalis personally as her coach for 3 years. And the only thing she wanted to talk to me about every single time was role playing. Once you learn this process, you can apply it to anything.
What's the mistake that a lot of agents make with price is they go too quickly into, I'm gonna get you the most money possible for the house because I'm the best agent in South Florida. That's the mistake, because maybe a lot of money isn't what they're looking for. So just ask a question around price. As far as price, what price were you expecting to get for the property? That's it.
And then shut up. Because you know what we want to do? Because it's uncomfortable. We fill the air with nonsense. We fill the air with all this stuff because we're uncomfortable. You're like, hey, so just so I'm clear, my intention is to help you to accomplish your goals and objectives. Did you have an idea at all of realistically what you were thinking in terms of price? And then shut up. Now, let's say they're like, well, you tell me.
Yeah. So it depends, right? It depends. So if you're doing the cash offer, so it depends. We have a couple options available. Just wanted to know which one's going to be the best fit for you. One is a direct offer with a cash buyer. Another one is we can go on the open market and list a home. Those processes are different based on what you're looking for. Which one of those two you think you'd be open to exploring?
Another question.
And it depends where the seller is leaning, because price is a key component. Here's one thing that I want all agents to learn. When you're framing the listing versus a cash offer, you have to explain the differences in the process and the benefits, and then align it with price. So what do we do if we're presenting the cash offer? Hey, look, the cash offer process, there's a few components that a lot of sellers really like. I don't know how important this is for you, but there's the speed factor where they can close quickly. They take care of all the closing costs. There's no commissions involved, and it's a guaranteed sale. Now, the price isn't necessarily always going to be the highest price because they offer all those components. If it was that type of offer where you had all those benefits, realistically, like what would be your rock bottom number that you would accept?
That's how you do that, bro. Do you see what I'm saying? That's how that's done. And by the way, you think I could wake her up in the middle of the night and she could do that? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like she could, right? But do you see how this pulls together everything we're talking about? She's framing it. There's frame, message, objective.
Yeah.
I'm framing it before I give you the information, but also, did she tell you the price yet? What do we do? Verbally vomit. This is what I think we could do, yeah? Instead of letting them sift through, well, I guess if I didn't have to deal with that, and she's given the benefits as to why you would even consider that. And by the way, as she's doing that, what popped up in my brain immediately, are you gonna know with a high degree of probability if that's the thing they're interested in after you find out motivation and urgency and timing? Yes. So what you could do is, like, let's say they answered all that motivation timing. So it's like, yeah, one option is the cash offer. And it kind of sounds like, based on what you would kind of have to share with me, it might actually serve you best, based on your desire for speed and efficiency. And here's how that works.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. There's a difference between I want a cash offer, because every seller wants a cash offer, and I'm realistic about what a real cash offer looks like. And that's the frame that we have to put the seller into, which a lot of agents fail. Because we're training a lot of newer agents and they're like, oh, they said they want a cash offer. And then when I always go back to what's the motivation, what's the time frame.
You know what's funny? It reminds me of like when me and you used to role play. She would hop on calls and be like, yeah, like this is gonna, like, I'm telling you this is gonna be a thing. And I'd ask her like 3 questions and she'd be like, oh, this isn't a thing. I'm like, yeah. She just didn't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And now they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. So it's a process of understanding. It always goes back to motivation and time frame. So the same thing with the when you're going into the listing side of it, if I know in my heart that the cash offer is not the best fit because the house is in perfect condition. If the seller is telling me, I just put $100,000 into my house, it's the most beautiful house in the neighborhood, but I want a cash offer. Now it's my job to realign them with what a realistic cash offer would be and get them back on track with what the listing, which is going to be the best fit for them. So questions, motivation. Oh, I just want to upgrade into a nicer house because my house is nice, but I want one with a backyard with a pool. Okay, what's important about that? How long have you been thinking about that? Is it an option not to sell and move? These are like the series of questions that we go into.
Is it an option for you to rent a home and still move, right?
What about time frame? Like, what's the ideal time frame? Look, if it sells in 30 days, great. If it sells in 60 days too, like I'm not in a crunch with time. Okay. At that moment, I have enough information to say, look, we've got these 2 options. And when they say, look, I want to get the most money for my house, I don't care how long it takes, then I'm going to pivot out of the cash. I know you were open to exploring this option. Based on what you're telling me, it just seems like the cash offer is going to be way too low based on what your goals are. Here's another solution, right? If your goal is to get the most money possible, the best way we're going to do that is expose it to everyone in the marketplace. And the best way we're going to do that is exploring your option of going on the market. Now, I don't know if it makes sense, but would you be open to having a conversation?
Just like that. And that's how you transition. The way Jose does it is he'll even say like, well, it sounds like the thing that's the most important to you is maximizing value and getting top dollar. The best way to do that is to be on the open market. So my suggestion to you is if you have an agent that you know, like, and trust, you should call them and tell them that you want to list the property. You're like, wow, he says that to them? Yeah, because how attached to that outcome is he? Zero. Makes them much more open to what he's about to say. He's like, what's also true is I am a licensed real estate agent. I've been selling real estate here in Oxnard, California for 10 years. We do over $80 million a year in volume. So I can help you maximize value on the open market if you're open to working with me in that capacity. Is that something you'd be open to, right? And so no matter how you do it, but that's how we're transitioning from one to the other. But the key ingredient that I just want to, like 7 times said is once heard. So I know I have to say something 7 times before you hear me once. The key ingredient, you have to know fully what the situation is. It's kind of like the analogy that comes to mind is imagine you're in the supermarket and like you happen to like really love pickles. So everybody who comes in, you're like, bro, you gotta get these pickles, you gotta get these pickles, you gotta get these pickles, you gotta get these pickles. People are like, bro, I don't want pickles. Like I didn't come here for that. Yes? So instead you become the purveyor of the supermarket, and instead you have all of these. I have novations on one aisle. I have wholesale on another aisle. I have sub 2 on an aisle. I have retail on another aisle. But in order for me to tell them, to direct them properly, to guide them properly, I need to greet them at the door and ask them questions as to what brought them in and what their situation is and what they're trying to accomplish and why.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And it's also selling from a place of integrity, because a lot of times in the wholesale space, when you're so focused on cash offers, you're trying so hard to put that seller into your bucket of what a cash offer is. And there's a lot more resistance because that's not what they want, but that's what you're trying to do. You got to hit your numbers. You're spending money in marketing. So there's like a lack of integrity sometimes when you're pushing so hard to get that done versus when you're okay with whatever outcome, whether it's the listing or the cash offer, it's a lot easier. There's a lot less resistance because you're just aligning them with a solution. And you make money both ways, right?
That's right. And I think what it ends up doing is it cultivates trust, because I'm going to attach the outcome. I don't care what we do. Like whatever you decide is okay. And you begin perceived as a guide to help them to solve their problems. What I find very interesting is the number one determining factor as to whether or not somebody says yes to an opportunity is not the features and amenities of the opportunity, it's the person that brought it to them. So that's really what it's about. So by having this conversation, asking questions, what am I demonstrating to you? Like, have you ever been at a party and somebody talks about themselves for like ever? What do you automatically know about that person? How much do they care about me? 0. What do we do with salespeople? Verbally vomit about ourselves all the time. Well, don't you know who I am? Oh, yeah, I went to this school and I sold this amount of home. Oh, I sold that home for your neighbor, right? We're just verbally vomiting about ourselves, which is just ego, like it's dumb. Versus if I'm at a party and I ask you a bunch of questions and I really don't talk that much, you're gonna walk away and be like, Aaron's amazing. Like he's a great conversationalist. I didn't even talk that much at all. What's the sweetest sound to a human? Their own name. Yeah? So that's like the philosophy behind what we're showing you here. This is how you convert. First, I have to pivot my strategy from these are pickles and you have to buy these pickles and I'm the pickle purveyor to I have a whole, market full of all these different products and services, but the way that I can help you is when I greet you at the door and I ask you a lot of questions, but in doing so, you start to trust me. Yeah. Because I'm not trying to push you into anything. Does that make sense? Yeah. I find it so interesting. I was just doing like an attraction call. They were getting lost in like, I was on somebody else's attraction call and they're getting lost in like these like features and amenities and here's what we can do and here's the model, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, just nobody cares about that. That's like a guy showing up to your house and be like, let me show you all the features of my lawnmower. Like, you're like, bro, does it cut grass? Yep, okay, you're good. You know what I mean? Instead, you should become the type of person that somebody would say yes to without even knowing what you're doing. The best way to show somebody you can help them is to help them for free. So really by asking all these questions, you know what you're doing? You're actually helping them. You're helping them to like get clarity around what actually is my problem? Yeah. What actually do I really want? Because sometimes they don't even know what they want.
And it's also a matter of helping the seller reframe around what a cash offer would be and why a cash offer is going to benefit them. So there's also a component there of acknowledging what the best fit is. And when you realize that it's not in alignment with their expectations, you have to, be a good enough salesperson to get the seller to self-discover about why that may or may not be the best solution. So I'll give you one scenario.
Yeah, like what does that sound like?
They have an auction, they're about to lose their house in 3 weeks and they want retail and the house is in complete disrepair. So in that moment, you're recognizing that the cash offer is going to be the best solution. Now it's your job to get the seller to self-discover as to why.
So what would be a question you could ask to help them to discover that around time?
Around time, like, look, Mr. Seller, I know you mentioned that you want, the top of the market, right? but we're also running against the clock with time, right? And even though I want to serve you at a high level, what happens if we don't have a buyer secured in the next 30 days?
What was the question at the end? Did you hear the question? So what would happen if we didn't have an offer in the next 30 days? What would that mean for you and your family? And then you, what? Shut up. Stop talking. And they'll tell you, well, that's not acceptable. Well, now what did you just learn? Instead of you saying that's not acceptable, what do we want to do? Jump right into oh, well, we need to do this. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why is it unacceptable? Well, that would mean like I'd probably lose the house. Okay, and if you lost the house, how much equity would you get? 0. And what would that mean for you and your family in terms of the next destination? Oh, that wouldn't work. Okay, so it sounds like based on what you've been kind enough to tell me, does it seem like that option would serve you best? And they're gonna tell me what? No. Do you see? Selling is not telling, bro. That's like Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff. That's like, these aren't the drones you're looking for, yeah? Selling is getting you to tell me, but that's a skill, right?
And it requires a lot of patience, because a lot of times too, when we have a lot of product knowledge, like I do, it's a process of getting yourself to not throw out all the product knowledge and giving yourself the space for the seller to respond. Because right now you guys are learning the product knowledge, so you don't know what to offer. So you're really good at asking the questions. But once you know, you're like ready, like, I know
what the answer is.
So it's a process of taking a step back and letting the seller be in that moment. Like great salespeople are really good listeners. They really care and they want to serve people at a high level, but then they also are assertive. So when it comes time to present the solution, they can guide the seller towards making a decision, because a lot of times they're in their own way, right? They don't know what's good for them, but you can't tell them. You have to, through really great questionings, have them self-discover as to why that may or may not be. Like what happens so a lot of sellers in pre-foreclosure, for example, they're in denial, right? Like, what options have you explored? Has that worked? Has that not worked? What's next? What happens if that doesn't work? So I'm asking guided questions to get them to kind of reflect on the situation and come to like an aha moment of, we need to do something now.
Yeah, if for some reason you weren't able to get a loan modification, is staying in the home sustainable over an extended period of time? Shut up. Nope, it's not. What do you think the probability that you'll be able to get that modification is? How many times have you attempted to get it? How long have you been waiting for it? What would happen if we were still here 60 days from now and you still didn't get it? And if the property does foreclose, how much equity are you going to get? So let me ask you a question, and I mean this lovingly. I'm just curious, like from your perspective, does that seem like a realistic option for you? And then be quiet. They'll tell you, but that's way more powerful. Guys, people will always argue with my information. You know who you'll never argue with? Your own information, ever. Anybody have in a relationship with a significant other? Yeah. Do they argue with your information? Yes. Will they ever argue with their own? No. Yes? So it's learning how to ask questions to get them to tell me, right? And I agree with you 100%. It's more like with integrity.
With integrity, yeah. Because there's a difference between pushing someone to do something versus guiding them and getting them to self-reflect. So motivation, we've covered that. Urgency and time. Urgency, time, and price. Those are the 4 components. Time, motivation, and price. Once you have that, that's all you need. And then you can direct them to whatever solution is the best fit for them. Now, as far as solutions, we have cash offers. That's one. Novations, that's another one. Seller finance, if we get into passive income opportunities, or subject to. Those are 4 options, or listing. So you have 5 buckets that you can choose from.
Right. So if we go back to the kind of, Publix analogy or the supermarket analogy, those are the products that you have on your shelf. So there's 2 components to really execute on this model at the highest level, all the stuff in the funnel, right? One is what we're talking about, pre-qual, but the second is you need product knowledge. I need to know what pickles are on the shelf. I need to know what potato chips are on the shelf. So that way I can match the problem with the appropriate solution. Does that make sense? Now, the amazing, fantastic, wonderful news is if you don't know how to do that, what the products are, you can reach out to Adeli's and she'll help you, right? How many people have you helped in the organization put deals together?
Well, we have 290 members now in the community, but in the organization, we helped over like 40 members.
Do deals?
Yeah.
And how much revenue did that produce for the agents?
Some of them have made 6 figures off of just one deal.
That's crazy. They didn't even know how to put it together. Do you understand? They just were doing the pre-qual and they're like, holy smokes, this is like a creative deal. Didn't know the products, didn't know what was on the shelf. Brought it to Adeli, she helps them. Okay, this is what this is. She makes a little bit of money, they make way more money, seller's happy, everybody's good.
And it's a great opportunity for agents to expand beyond just being agents. I think one of my biggest frustrations with agents is they want to do more deals, but it's very short-term thinking. They're not thinking where they're going to be in 5 years, 10 years. So through these conversations, you're going to come across opportunities for yourself to build a portfolio, to start creating passive income, to build wealth. Investors are really great at that because they've got the focus, right? They're talking to these sellers and they know there's these opportunities that maybe I can start picking and choosing for myself.
And that's the beautiful thing about the community, because what's starting to happen is like that. So let's say somebody has a deal, they don't know what to do, they want to keep it for their portfolio, but they don't have the money. Well, there's somebody in the community who has the money. And you guys can do a JV and you do a deal together, and now you're building wealth together. You see what I'm saying?
We want to create a community of agents that understand. So my goal is to shift from just a real estate agent, or I'm just an investor, to I'm a real estate professional, and I serve at a high level. And you're doing cash deals, you're doing creative deals, you're building your portfolio, you're serving sellers through listings. So it's all integrated. That's what I want to create. And agents that are not just being agents, but they're also investors and are building something for themselves and their family.
Yeah, I think a key phrase is not just selling something, but building something. Does that make sense? And I think that the marketplace is demanding that we as agents add more value, because otherwise you'll get fired, which is what's happening to the vast majority of agents. But agents who plug in, it's not happening to them.
Yeah.
Right?
What we're experiencing a lot as the market has shifted is we're getting a lot of our cash offer leads that are listed. So as an agent, if you have a property right now that's not selling, I guarantee you, your seller is going behind your back, submitting cash offer leads and having conversations with us.
And you don't even know. Do you understand? I would propose or suggest they're doing that before they list as well. And you don't even know. But you get all those calls, right? And he can tell you. He gets them all the time. So what I'm aware of is, imagine he wouldn't get that call if I presented it to him. Right. They wouldn't even call him. Does that make sense? And you can be having that conversation if it's been sitting on the market and you've talked about price adjustments. It's like, well, you have a couple options that you have at your disposal. I'd like to review them with you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you 100%. One is we continue to do this with a high degree of probability. We're going to get the same result. You know, we would have to adjust the price. The marketplace is showing us that that's what would be required if we wanted to sell. Or we could go this route. Now, this route, here's what that would entail. Based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, based on what you value most, what do you think we should do? And then you shut up. You like how I keep repeating that. Why? Because we talk too much. Quiet and let them tell you.
Yeah, and we do a lot of direct-to-agent outreach in our business. We do direct-to-seller and direct-to-agent. And a lot of times, the reason why a lot of deals don't get done or close on the MLS is because the agent is unwilling to have a conversation with the seller about the offer.
Right. They just refuse to present it. Yeah. There's a whole guy on TikTok right now who makes like $3 million a year making fun of agents, where he does it live, and they won't present the offer. They get all pissy about it, mad about it, whatever. You probably follow that guy.
Yeah.
So, but like, who's doing that? We are. We should be doing what he's doing, and we'd make all the money instead of him. Do you understand?
And it's very simple. So once you understand the seller situation and motivation, if you know speed is important and we're running against the clock, because right now, let's be real, days on market are staying longer. Hey, Mr. Seller, I wanted to provide you a couple different solutions. One is a price reduction, and you go through that conversation. And another one is I have access to direct buyers that can give you a cash offer and can close in 30 days or less. Are you open to exploring what that would look like? And then you have that conversation, but you reframe the seller around what a realistic cash offer would be.
And then with a high degree of probability, that's actually going to lead to a price reduction, because they're going to be like, dang, I don't want to go down that low. Like, let me just lower the price 20 grand. You're like, okay. But do you see how the skills stack on each other? Yeah. I have to have a deep reservoir of like specialized knowledge around retail and a deep reservoir of specialized knowledge around off market. But when you do that, bro, you become like super agent.
Yeah.
Right? You can serve people at a much higher level and make a lot of money and do good and help a lot of people.
And move your listings, because getting a listing is half the battle, right? You do a great presentation and then you can't sell it. You don't want someone going behind your back, getting a contract with your seller, and then you lose this deal that you put in so much work for because you refuse to have a conversation. It happens every single day.
All the time. And then that builds animosity. Like, oh, these wholesalers, you know, they're just like, well, you're like, bro, well, you're really mad at yourself because you could have done that, but you didn't.
Yeah.
All right, I want to open it up for some questions. I think there's some questions online too. I can see me. So, you guys have any questions? I know you did.
Seems to me, tell me if my mindset is wrong, that I never want to tell the seller how much to sell their property. How much I want to just.
Correct. Help them to self-discover.
I just want to show them the properties that are available on the market and let them choose the price.
Here's a caveat to that, though. Okay. So the caveat to that is like, in a broad sense, self-discovery. But I also know, because I've done the homework, what's reasonable. It's kind of like a doctor if they showed you your kind of blood work and they're like, you purely decide what this means. Yeah? That's what that would be like. So yes, I include them in the process. I help them to self-discover. But when they say something that's wildly unreasonable or realistic, I have to know how to politely confront them.
Come up with some kind of wild price. First thing I'd say is, well, how did you come up with that?
No, I wouldn't do that, because what that does is that invites, we're fighting now. You know what, and with your tonality, do you know what it sounded like? You're a complete idiot. You're the dumbest person I've ever met.
Like a complete idiot.
I know, but but here's what's interesting. So that's like, if we're not aware, so this is an instrument, just so you know. right? Salespeople, I mean, like, let's say plumbers. Plumbers have wrenches, they have like tools, right? What's our tool as a salesperson? My words, my tonality, my body language, right? So I immediately in your tonality got condescending and it's like, you're dumb, okay? So instead of that, I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'm curious, right? Because I'm aware that the seller's hat is different than the buyer's hat. So if we were to put on our buyer's hat and if we were gonna buy this place all over again, right? Having seen what's active on the market and not selling and seen what's sold and closed most recently, particularly those two that sold in the neighborhood at 650 within the last 90 days, honestly, everything after the word honestly has to be honest. That's neurolinguistic programming. Honestly, where do you think you would feel comfortable making an offer that you believe would be reflective of fair market value? When I say the word fair, do we have an insane concept of fairness in the United States? Oh yeah. If we perceive something not to be fair, somebody has to go to jail. Like, I think we all knew that rich people did things to get their kids in college. I think we all knew that, right? But then like once we really knew, people had to go to jail because it wasn't fair. Yes? So when I say, where do you think you would make an offer that you believe would be reflective of fair market value? What is happening in Camila's head? She's saying, I have to be fair. So that's the politely pushing back part. And that's a skill. Does that make sense? And then let's say he pushes back again. He's like, well, and it's usually men who do this, by the way. Let's say he's like, well, like, I don't care what the comps say. Well, first of all, you probably didn't pre-qual good enough because he's not motivated. Yeah. Second, I'd be like, all right, and I'd circle back. I'd just ask it in a different way. It's like, okay, well, again, if we looked at this information, we saw the last sold for 650. I mean, you may offer a little bit more than 650. Would you offer $100,000 more than the last closed sale 90 days ago? Do you think you would do that? Probably not. Don't you think most buyers would feel pretty similar to you? I do. Okay, so then the marketplace, look, not me. This is so good. Look what's happening to his body. I don't like this. So the marketplace, the market, not me, because what do I want to do? I believe, I think, I can get you. Yes? The marketplace is showing us somewhere around 650 seems to be reasonable. So now it's really just a question of how we get there. And we have a couple options at our disposal in terms of price, because price is a strategy and attempt to get the most. I'll go over those options with you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you 100%. Now we're just talking about, do we start high and come down, like at 670 and make an adjustment, or 660 or whatever? Or do we start a little bit below that with the goal and objective of getting a lot of people interested, pushing up value, and getting top dollar?
My name is Gabriella, and I'm the event planner for our group. We're going to have a great meetup today, but I want to tell you about our event in January. We're having the Do More Deals Summit in Fort Lauderdale. All of the biggest partners and agents are flying across the U.S. They're all coming to speak to us, to get us revved up for the new year, to make sure we do more deals next year.
And a wonderful testimony to that is that young man right there. So what did you tell me in the bathroom today?
This year is my best year yet.
Prior to getting into the ecosystem, how much money were you making?
I made 60,000.
Okay, got it. And then what are you on track to make this year? $250,000.